Ladies and gentlemen, wow, that's on hot. I'm sorry for the delay. There was a problem with there was a glitch in the video or the slideshow, and Evan had to go home and get something, so we're waiting for him. Being the dad, I think we should wait. So if you'd be patient with us, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I was wasted that. Take care, hold on. One leg. Go.
What's the object?
He just likes to touch them all.
That's okay. You know why? They're Maddie's flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Been traveling these wide roads for so long. My heart's been far from you, 10,000 miles gone. Oh, I wanna come near and give you every part of me, but there's blood on my hands and my lips are unclean. In my darkness I remember Mama's words reoccur to me. Surrender to the good Lord and to wipe your slate clean. Take me to your river. I wanna go. Go. Take me to your river. I wanna know. Dip me in your smooth waters. I go in as a man with many crimes. Come up for air as my sins flow down the Jordan. Oh, I wanna come here and give you every part of me, but there's blood on my hands and my lips are unclean. Take me to your river. I wanna go. Go. Take me to your river. I wanna know.
Wanna go, wanna go, wanna go.
I wanna know, wanna know, wanna know. Wanna go, wanna go, wanna go. Wanna know, wanna know, wanna know. Wanna go, wanna go, wanna go. Wanna know, wanna know, wanna know.
Ooh, oh. Take me to your river. I wanna go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can start anytime you're ready. We are ready. Does anybody know, is everybody in here or is there anybody in the parking lot?
Cell phones off.
Okay, well, good afternoon. Finally, we are here. And we are gathered here in honor of, in the memory of Maddie Wilson. On behalf of Evan and Daphne and all the family, I want to welcome you to this very special celebration of life for Maddie and to thank you all for coming. Your presence here today is greatly appreciated. I hope you know that by them, and is a real source of comfort and encouragement. Certainly, you are here today because in some way, or I would say many ways, by what I've learned about this girl this week, that she has touched your life. So, saying that, before we start, I'd like to open up in a word of prayer to ask the Lord to bless this time and make it meaningful. So if you'd bow with me, I would say a quick prayer. Dear Lord, we look to you for comfort and hope at this time. When we don't really know where else to turn, we look to you, Lord, because we grieve the loss of this dear child of yours. Be with us as we look back and remember Maddie. Father, we know that you feel our sorrow, you feel our pain. You hear our prayers and you provide for our needs, both in life and in death. The Bible tells us that one of your titles is Comforter, and that's what we ask for today, for all those gathered here today. Please, Lord, be our comforter. We also ask that you restore our souls, Lord. Bring a reassurance as we consider this loss. Help us to find peace in knowing this, and show us that your love never fails. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Thank you. Saying an earthly goodbye to a loved one has got to be one of the most difficult, gut-wrenching things that we can face in our lifetime, especially when it's your daughter. And for a lot of you, your friend, maybe your best friend. Parents are not supposed to outlive their kids. This is awful. It's not designed that way, but in this case, here we are. It's been said that death is our most feared enemy. It robs us of the one we love and can't be replaced. It ends all our earthly relationships and terminates all our earthly plans. When our family member or a friend is taken from us, whether it be suddenly, like in our case here, or over a long period of time due to sickness, illness, being apart from them causes natural pain, sorrow. It causes grief. Grief is our natural reaction and is a healthy response. It cuts to the core of emotions, and questions arise that we don't always have the answers for. But may I remind you, as I did the family, that grief is the price we pay for loving someone. One of the best ways to deal with that grief is to talk about the one who has passed, not to be silent about it. Hit it head on. Share stories, share memories. Some of those memories are going to be sad, some will make you laugh, some will make you cry. But for whatever reason that you have for telling and sharing those stories, it's good therapy. Life is precious. Life is precious and it should be celebrated. In a few minutes, I would like you to be thinking about maybe coming up and giving a little testimony about Maddie, a little story, a little memory, whatever you want to do. And we'll do that after we find out her life's journey. And I'll read that now. This is what I gathered over this last week. By the way, I want to thank Evan and Daphne for all the help you gave me. It was unbelievable. And this is one of my most treasured times that I've had in the last couple of years. So I really appreciate the time you spent, the effort you spent, and the diligence that you went through to get me this information. I really appreciate it, so thank you. I have 14 pages, so hang on, we're going to be here a little while. These are half pages, by the way. Madeline Patricia Wilson. Her life's journey began July 5th, 1990, where she was born in Alta Bates Hospital in Berkeley, California, to the parents of Evan and Daphne Wilson. She had one older sister, Melanie. Maddie began her early days living in her family home in Richmond, California. She came into the world with some mystery, as CAT scans revealed that part of her brain was developed differently than was expected. But no one knew what differences would bring in the years to come. What was different from most kids about Maddie was a parent. As soon as she was able to use a pencil. Anybody know that here? Maddie almost bypassed rudimentary drawing altogether and was sketching faces filled with expression, emotion at just 2 or 3 years old. I just can't get over that. Her favorite theme being mean, angry monsters terrorizing scared, sad people, the people often in cages. What was that all about? Maddie's IQ was tested around this time, and she boarded around 145. She was an extremely intelligent person in many ways. Daphne told me that. She was asked in a class to draw an alligator. Well, what do you think? Maddie draws this alligator with the perspective of herself inside the alligator, in his mouth, looking out. I would love, does anybody have a picture of that? I would love to see that. At 4 years old, she was capturing motion on the page as well. Here it is. Here's her motion. A ballerina snake in a tutu with a single toe shoe on her tail and a party hat on her head. It was clear early on that Maddie was going to be a talented artist. Her creativity was abundant, and she lived it throughout her life. So was Maddie's perspective throughout life. Unique things unseen by others, she saw clearly. Maddie grew up with a lot of family and relatives around her. Her grandparents, Pat and Bud, and Nancy and Fred, were ever present in her childhood, and were many of her aunts and uncles and cousins. Daphne and Evan's family were both generations deep in the Bay Area, so Maddie had a lot of company. Both families had rich holiday traditions and loved to celebrate birthdays and accomplishments. The 12 uncles and 14 cousins, holiday and birthdays came often and drew a crowd on both sides. There were always lots of kids to play with. After attending Noah's Ark preschool, Maddie went to St. John the Baptist Catholic School in El Cerrito, California, with her sister Melanie, who was 2 years older. It was a small school with a tight-knit community. Maddie made friends quickly with her classmates, Elizabeth and Katie. They spent the early days together at St. John's. By the way, if I get any of this wrong, put your hand up and correct me on the spot. It's okay. There's a lot here. They both had an artist hand and were always playing dress up and make-believe. Maddie loved to dress up. Halloween always was a big affair, and Daphne and the girls spent many hours making wonderful, elaborate costumes that were always a hit. Whether she was a ballerina, unicorn, mermaid, or clown, Maddie was all the way in. She became that character. Maddie later became friends with a little girl, Isabella, around the 4th grade. They quickly hit it off and became best of friends. Sleepovers were the norm. And as always, dress up and make believe carried the day, and trips to Titan Park were frequent. Where's Titan Park?
Tilden Park. Is it
Tilden, I'm sorry, Tilden.
in Berkeley?
Oh, okay. Maddie loved the merry-go-round, the little farm where she could feed the animals, the pets, the little train ride through the hills, and playing in the water and sand at Lake Anza. Maddie loved nature. We're going to find that out here in this story. Early on, and really enjoyed taking nature hikes, picking flowers, and studying bugs. Maddie loved bugs. She always had an affinity for animals, loved her kitties, the zoo, and all the little farm animals, where she could feed and pet the animals. Maddie spent her K through junior years at St. John's Baptist Church, where she also attended Mass. Her years in the elementary grades tended to be difficult for her, for she had her unique perspective and found it hard to fit in the mold of logic. She wasn't known to be outgoing in a She wasn't known to be outgoing in a crowd, but always had the comfort of a close friend and her sister at school. Her sister Melanie was always her protector, her friend, and her confidant. Good for you. Maddie struggled with math and history, but worked very hard to keep up. Math, in particular, was overwhelming. She just really never got it. She was aware that there was something that kept her from following along, making this very hard on her self-esteem, but she always kept on trying. There was one story told to me about Maddie's time spent at St. John's. I wasn't going to use this at first, but I thought, no, this is nuts. I'm going to use it. About Maddie's time in St. John's pertaining to her principal, Sister Angela, and the ever-present Sister Sandy. Sounds demonic already, doesn't it? Now, Sister Angela was a tiny, grandmotherly-looking old woman with a heavy Irish accent and walked with a slight limp. But she was kind in general, but also had a mean streak that was legendary. I thought that was funny. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah? All the kids viewed her as an existential threat and talked about her with fear in their eyes. Once she caught Maddie and a friend drawing on the basketball poles on the playground at recess. Madeline and her father were called into the playground after school where Sister Angela met to supervise in the public shaming and pole cleanup, while making sure Maddie's father understood completely the sin and illegalities of defacing school property. I could just see her with that Irish accent doing that.
That's exactly what
Is that what she's doing? Yeah. I went to Catholic school too. I know what they had. She was a hard-line, spare the rod and spoil the child type. But when she wasn't enjoying a disciplining, I love that too, she could be quite kind and was always 100% dedicated to the kids. See, those two things are just the way they're, anyway. And then there was Sister Sandy. She was very short, but built like a dock worker, with a tomboy haircut and aviator sunglasses. Disciplining children seemed to be natural to Sister Sandy. She was usually angry, and shaming was part of her curriculum in the class. Maddie genuinely feared Sister Stanley and steered clear. Did I call her Stanley? Sister Sandy, and steered clear as much as possible. Needless to say, Sister Sandy was hard to forget. Maddie and Isabella ran track in 5th grade. She trained hard and well, but track didn't play. I got lost. But she played well. Track didn't take hold for her and Isabella. Maddie also played recreational soccer for the El Cerrito Youth Soccer League, Piranhas, in 2001 at age 11. But again, sports just wasn't Maddie's thing, and she dropped it a year later. The family regularly attended Sunday Mass at church events all of Maddie's early days, up until she was 10 or so. She was also baptized there. Evan and Daphne separated in 1996, and one family became two. Maddie and Melanie shared time in both new households, but there was a lot of love on both sides of the family, and the girls' relationships with both sides of the family remained strong. Daphne's parents, Nana and Papa, helped with the girls and became very close. That bond never waned. Melanie and Maddie attended a Julia Morgan Performing Arts summer program in 1997 and became very interested in theater. In 1998, they joined the Broadway Babies Theater Company in El Cerrito and fell in love with the dramatic arts. A cast of kids at that time was a very interesting bunch. The brothers Mars and Jupiter, yes, that was their real name, Mars and Jupiter, were the leads. And they really were a couple of characters built for the stage. They were quite free-spirited, and the other kids were really quite starstruck. And Maddie had a crush on Jupiter. How about that? The show at Broadway Babies were a lot of fun to produce and to watch. Maddie and Melanie became good friends with Haley and her younger sister Perrin, who also went to St. John's. Theater became a way of life for a while, eating and changing into costumes in the car between soccer practice and rehearsals. It was a lot of fun. In 1997, Evan met a woman named Elena in Berkeley through some mutual friends, and then in 1999 had Madeline's half-brother, Christian, while Elena was working for a U.S. aid on an assignment in Moscow, Russia. Elena and Chris moved from Moscow to live with Evan and the girls in 2001. Waking up one morning to a new family was a big adjustment for everyone, but it went well. Elena still traveled a lot, so Melanie and Maddie got to help with their little brother. They proved to be really good big sisters. This is a scary story, huh? That same year of 2001, Daphne and her whole family took a trip to Spain. That was a wonderful trip for Maddie. She was fascinated by the castles, the medieval doors. What are medieval doors? Just the ornate doors? Yeah, okay. The museums and the trains through the countryside. Her love for medieval fairy tales began then. She became very close to her cousin Will during this trip. They often sat up talking and reading together. She loved the orange Fanta in Spain and ordered it at sitting. So I got to ask you, what's Fanta? Is that a juice or something?
Orange Fanta, it's a soda pop.
It's a soda pop.
They had it in Spain every.
Okay. Early in 2003, Elena and the kids moved from the house in Richmond to El Dorado Hills. This move was a traumatic on Maddie. She would talk to Daphne at length about her school and how the children, as she put it, were cookie cutouts, calling them Eldoids, and how she did not fit in. Eldoids, that's good. The children spent weekends and summers with Daphne in the San Ramon Pleasanton area. Maddie would jog through the hills, go to drama camps in YWCA, and Daphne remembers how Maddie would hug her and her sister very tightly. And then there were the many times that she and Maddie would just walk the coastlines in Martinez and just talk about all things life. She spent time with her Nana and Papa, seemed so confused by growing up. Those were hard years for her. I remember Daphne said, during this period, the makeup, the hair colors, different color every week, her struggles with logic, her creativity and beauty, her drawings, her drama, her love for everything living. She was getting to know who she was. Maddie finished 7th grade at Rolling Hills Middle School while Melanie attended Oak Ridge High School. Rolling Hills is where Maddie almost immediately met her dear friend Sharon. And I have a little note from Sharon coming up later. Sharon and Maddie found a lot of comfort in each other's company and became best friends. It was a constant stream of dress-ups, makeup, goof-off filled sleepovers that kept everybody laughing and brought the families together. After 8th grade, Sharon and Maddie went to different schools, but have remained in touch over the years. Maddie went on to Shenandoah High School in Placerville, California. It turned out that Shenandoah had a different approach to curriculum, geared more towards the creative mind, which suited Maddie's artistic nature. Maddie was struggling with school and had devoted an eating disorder, and Shenandoah was better able to help her through those tough times. Maddie met Megan at Shenandoah, and they bonded immediately. They formed a close friendship that would last the rest of Maddie's life. They were true friends, and I understand that she's the last one that talked to Maddie. Megan and Maddie found Chris Mayer and Cassie Frame and the four of them spent many nights watching horror movies and just generally going full free teenager mode. They really fed off each other and had some good times. There was a lot of laughter between the tears. In her junior year, Maddie transferred to a program at Ponderosa High that everyone agreed better suited her needs. There, Maddie enrolled in the regional occupational program, which trained kids to trade while attending high school. Maddie and Megan, still at Shenandoah, both went through the School of Cosmetology on the Ponderosa campus. Together, they learned to professionally cut hair and do makeup. We're about halfway through. Makeup became a passionate pastime, and they would spend many hours working each other over. I could see that. And sometimes quite lovely. Other times gory, and still other times hilarious. They both were masters of makeup. Maddie met a teacher, Bob Cavallo, at Ponderosa. Bob really had a big impact on her life. He was a very kind man who was great with kids who were struggling emotionally, and they really clicked. When Maddie was feeling down or uncomfortable, Bob would let her out of the class to run around this track. Running was her favorite way to deal with stress, and Bob understood, Evan said, in Maddie's senior year. She made up her mind that she wanted to be a mother, like now. So she met Dustin, and they had a beautiful daughter named Samantha. But Maddie and Dustin came to the realization, due to their age, that they couldn't properly care for this child. So they gave Samantha, now named Kennedy, up for adoption with the lovely couple that they found. Kirsten and Kevin was her name. They provided a rich and wonderful life for this little Kennedy in their home in Texas, keeping in touch with the family. Maddie moved to a nice little apartment in Folsom. Megan, Chris, and Cassie all stuck with Maddie and saw her through some really tough times. Again, these are true friends. In 2010, Maddie met a friend from the past. Corey Long was a good friend of Melanie's in high school, both very involved in drama club. Corey would jump on any occasion to come to Melanie's house, as he was a little sweet on Madeline at that time. Maddie reconnected with Corey in 2010, and they moved in together. Maddie was pregnant with Dakota when Corey and Maddie eloped at Lake Tahoe. They looked so good together and were very happy starting a new family. Dakota was born on September 3rd, 2011. Daphne and Peter married in 2010, and with him, Peter brought a wonderful step family to Maddie. When Dakota was born, Maddie became a fierce mother. She loved with all her soul. She felt needed. Let's see. Corey and Maddie had a nice little townhouse in Folsom. Dakota was a really cute baby, and Maddie started dabbling in photography, taking photos of her. It was clear early on that photography was one of Maddie's real artistic talents. Corey brought a nice camera, and Maddie started taking really cool photos of everything around her, but mostly Dakota. Her command of composition was effortless, and again, Maddie showed that her ability to capture motion and emotion were a God-given talent, and she could rock Photoshop also. After Maddie started taking pictures, it was easy to see, Daphne said, that her pictures captured things that were so beautiful, so unseen, so amazing. She could see the world through her eyes. A bit later, Maddie moved to Portland with Corey and became pregnant again with Hudson. Hudson was diagnosed with autism at a very early age, and Maddie protected him and kept him close to her and Dakota like a mama bear with cubs. Maddie and Corey managed things for several years, but they later separated. Madeline moved from Portland back to Berkeley with the kids in 2020. Is that right?
Not 2020, 2017.
17. I had 2020 down there, and I was going to call you about that. God, the years didn't jive. Maddie moved from Portland back to Berkeley with the kids in 2017. There you go. Daphne and Peter live in a fourplex on Claremont Avenue and managed to secure one of the apartments for her. The kids enrolled in schools nearby, and with Peter and Daphne's help, managed to start life over as a single mom. The arrangement worked quite well as Peter's family was nearby too, and they all helped Madeline through this tough adjustment. Maddie strived to establish herself and to support her kids and began looking for jobs. After trying sales at the optometrist's office, this was not her calling, she found out. Yeah, I know. She would rather be helping and caring for people, motivated by the example of incredible teachers, doctors, advisors, and nurses who helped her throughout her struggles during her teenage years. She decided to pay back the community and to care for those who were in need. She became a caregiver for those in need and then those who were disabled. Working at Nurse Next Door, her warm care and compassion led to long work hours, many early mornings and late nights, but a life filled with new meaning. In the meantime, she met and fell in love with Jake. He was there for her during those times and loved her and helped her with the kids. Maddie and Jake later found a place in Pollock Pines to be closer to Jake's family and Maddie's father. They could again be together for the holidays, the birthdays, and the swim parties. Maddie only had the kids on weekends, though, and she missed them terribly during the week. Looking back, this last section here was given to me by the family, and I'm going to read it just as they gave it to me. This is very touching. Looking back, Madeline's short 30 years with us were full with family, friends, and art, music, poetry, sports, and emotion. Madeline cried a lot, but she laughed a lot more, and Madeline touched many lives. If there wasn't a pandemic at the time of her passing, we would have needed a big venue to fit all those that surely would have flocked to say goodbye to her. Maddie faced challenges from the beginning that might defeat the strongest of us early on, but those close to her know how hard Maddie swam against the unseen currents to keep up with the turning world. Maddie showed us how to take what nature gives us and make it into something beautiful. In her art, in her poetry, in her laughter, in her ability, in her capacity in herself. If Maddie could speak in this hour, she would shower her children, as you mean everything to her. She loves you so, so very much. She would say how sorry she is for any pain that she caused anyone. It was not her intention. She would say thank you to everyone who helped her along the way. She would say that in her heart, the hugs conquered the shoves, and how much she loved everyone in her life. Everyone. She would sing that if you hold me in your heart the way I hold you in mine, I will sleep warm and cozy forever. That's Maddie's story. We have a little thing from Sharon who got us this message, and I said I would read it. So this is from her friend Sharon from way back. Maddie was a dear friend of mine that I met in middle school. She and I had become inseparable from the get-go in what seemed like a soul connection that became a sisterhood. Maddie was very beautiful and captivating inside and out, and she became a part of my family, which my mother can attest to. She was there for me in some of my hardest times of my life with my father's tragic passing, and tried to keep a smile on our faces any chance she got, even capturing my father's heart while he was still alive as well. Honestly, a short paragraph can't really capture who Maddie was. I wish I had kept in touch with her after she moved from our hometown and built her family. I miss her so much, and I will love her forever. That was from her dear friend Sharon. Sharon. Did they change her name to Karen, you said?
Everyone called her Karen earlier.
Karen. Okay.
Her name was Sharon.
Okay. Are we okay? I guess we're going to have a little video now, or slideshow. Okay. Anytime you're ready there, Aaron.
It's only in there.
Wake up where the stars are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops. High above the chimney top, that's where you'll find me. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Love dreams that you dare to. Oh why can't I? Oh, someday you wish upon a star. Wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drop. High above the chimney top, that's where you'll find me. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And love dream that you dare to. Oh why can't I?
So now, as I asked before, as you're gathering your tissues and mopping up after that, now would be a good time for all those of you who knew Maddie the best, or have any of you who have any secrets you want to tell, or stories, or anything like that. I know Evan's going to want to say a few things. And you are too. Would you like to go first or last? Do you want to go first? Okay. Daphne's coming up.
Maddie, how do I say goodbye? How do I describe you? How can I relay my utter love, memories, happiness, frustration, hope, and beauty of and with you? How? In my own way and in my own time. For now I can only say what is in my shattered, fractured mind and heart. I miss you. I love you so much. I wish I could turn back time and see clearly. From infancy you were different, lovable and loving. Your entire heart and soul lived to love people and things. Your soul is beautiful beyond measure and too fragile to live in this harsh and sometimes ugly daily grind. Your life was about magic, earth, fairies, insects, oceans, mountains. It was hard, so hard for your soul to understand this logical, mundane, chore-filled, lack of luster life that we are expected to live to survive. I want to still protect you from everything. I want to sleep next to you, smell you, not let anyone close until I know them. I want to brush your hair and laugh with you. Your eyes, those of my father, filled with life, I will never see those again. In some cases, you had a very wise old soul, knowing more about feelings, physical and emotion, than anyone I know. You loved with your entire self, not able to hold any back. That would be too logical. You floated with your draped clothing. You danced to funny songs. You sang loud, and you loved hard and true. No room for anything but emotion. Your sister was your light, and she protected and loved you as hard as you loved her. I don't know how to do Christmas. I don't know how to go on with the daily life. A part of me is gone in the wind, your wind, gone with you. I had to be on bed rest both of my pregnancy with you, and Melanie was a little toddler. You were always punching or kicking me in my stomach in utero. We watched fireworks from Al Cocolet in Berkeley that night with a 2-year-old Melanie, and after a few hours you were born. Your beginning days were worrisome and scary, and yet you thrived and grew and became our happy baby girl. I remember quite clearly you playing with ants before you could walk. You would see them in the bathroom and build little canoes out of pea pods for them and float them around in the sink. You would make little ant cities. I remember you collecting snails and making a snail city. One time you stuck 2 together. Once you set one free from its shell. I remember collecting frogs one day and taking them home, and you talking and being with them all waking hours. I remember the magic of the backyard for you and your sister, both of you sitting out there all day, talking or playing, or simply being together, experiencing the outdoor wonder of it all. I remember a trip to Limantour and Point Reyes and sleeping close to the beach. You found feathers and stuck them all in your hair and hat. It was magic. I remember Melanie protecting you, hugging you, and helping you. I remember so many good things as well as some challenges. I remember your heartaches in kindergarten and first grade. I gave you a marble to hold in your pocket and hold it and touch it and know I was with you via that marble when you felt alone or sad. You later told me that marble was what helped you through those times. You kept it until adulthood in a special place. I remember your getting glasses at 18 months. They were pink, wrapped around your head to stay on, and adorable to us. For many years after this, you continually lost them by throwing them out the car window, and I believe we paid a small fortune for glasses throughout our lifetime. You got braces and begged the orthodontist to take them out before they were ready, promising you would wear the night special retainer braces. You never did. It was not you. I remember your absolute innocence in so many things, even until adulthood. I remember the deer that would roam at my mom and dad's house when you were an adult in Rossmore, and when a buck passed by, you said, "Oh, look at that beautiful moose." I remember taking you and Melanie to the botanical gardens in Tilden in babyhood, childhood, adolescence, and beyond. It was a very special place to you throughout your life. I remember you playing in the birch trees there and rolling down the grassy hills. I remember walks with you through the eucalyptus, oak, and bay tree forests of Tilden. You always thought little fairies lived in them. I remember Spain, you and your cousins and aunts and uncles becoming close, and how magical that place was for you. I remember you talking with me about life, love, children, family, animals, science, fairies, world, and troubles. How do I reconcile one of my children, one of my beloved children, my love for that child and need for that child, that I am burying her? This love, this force, this frantic and desperate compassion part of my soul, my being, as being gone. Where are you? When you moved downstairs from us in Berkeley, I remember you being so humble and surprised how beautiful it was. You really did not understand that you deserved all of that and more. I remember your pet praying mantis family that you introduced to Dakota and Hudson in Berkeley. All of these I remembers. It is all I have of you now. You are in each cell, limb, leaf, wing, paw. You are in each thought, emotion, and vision. I wish I could say things better. I look at Dakota and Hudson and I see you clearly. You shared your magic thoughts and experiences with them, and it is a part of them. I see you clearly there. I hold them closely and will never lose them. My darling, loved, pained, exhausted, romantic, innocent child, the world was too hard for you, the everyday bores. I feel guilt. I want to fix things. It's too late. You are a teacher and you taught me the beauty of raw light. You always connected with my father's poetry, and I would like to quote one. You are always there if I wait. The immense cloud shadow moving across the far mountains. The streak of a tanager in the dark trees. The green spiraling and unspiraling snake. The fish in the rapids. The bear who dazzled the stream. The voluble coyotes coming down beneath the moon. It lasts for a moment, this reassembly of the self. An identity that we believe for a moment is ours. As the petrel over the high-breaking seas, the eagle, his great slow wings spread, returning to the cliff, or the high-pitched repeated cry of the hawk, the brilliance of sun through the splayed wing feathers drifting across.
Well, really, I just wanted to say, I guess, I don't know where that came from, but I just wanted to say thank you all for coming. You know, I know it's you kind of putting yourselves at risks to be here with the pandemic and all, and it really it really means a lot to us. You know, Maddie was born to struggle. She struggled with things that most of us take for granted. But she was also blessed with a big heart, and that was showed through the most. And I think we all can see that. But I really got up here just to say thank you to everybody. And I'd like to say thanks to all of those who came into Maddie's life and shared the good times and the bad, and to share their lives with her, and who loved her back. In particular, I'd like to thank Daphne and Peter for catching Maddie when she needed help in a very trying time in her life. You took her in, and at great personal sacrifice, you got her back on her feet. She couldn't have done it without you. I'd also like to thank Elena, who traveled 10,000 miles from her own family to be with me and mine. Elena worked tirelessly to keep Maddie afloat during incredibly difficult years. She saw needs in Madeline that I couldn't, and pushed through with measures to help her that I would never have known or didn't have the strength to follow through with. She knows that true love and compassion, sometimes, to the better end of all, take the foresight and courage to do what feels and appears harsh to those she loves. I'd also like to thank you, Megan, for being Maddie's bedrock friend. For being Maddie's bedrock friend through thick and thin. Maddie loved you so much. And thank you, Jerry and Mary too, for bringing Maddie into your lives and treating her like family. So really, just thank you all. I love you all.
Anybody else want to say anything?
Well, I think Elena would like to say something. Megan, you want to say something?
Hi, everyone. This was hard to write, so please bear with me. I met Maddie when I was 14 years old. I had just started at a new high school, Shenandoah. We instantly clicked, and she instantly felt like home to me. As soon as we met, we knew we were best friends, and it wasn't a temporary, fleeting friendship. It was for life. We could be our weird selves around each other. I didn't have to put on any masks or put on any fronts with Madeline. We were inseparable, and we both knew finding one another was special and rare, even though most of our conversations were layered in sarcasm, joking with one another, teasing, and lots of laughter. We had a similar dry but goofy sense of humor. I think each friend represents a world in us, a world not born until they arrive. And Madeline made me feel like I belonged in this world. And that anything and everything is possible. She was brave. She was wild. She took absolutely nothing for granted. She made me see everything with new eyes when I met her. We laughed all the time at our own bizarre jokes. We battled depression together. We were rebellious teenagers. We really grew up together. I felt so lucky to have her. She was a true friend. And I think if we honestly ask ourselves, which person in our lives means the most to us, it's often those who, instead of giving advice or solutions, have chosen rather to share our pain and touch our wounds with a warm and tender hand. The friend who can be silent with us in a moment of despair or confusion. And that's the type of friend Madeline was for me. She was so empathetic, so concerned with the suffering of others. And I watched her grow from an awkward, rebellious teenager into a selfless, resilient, kind, warm, compassionate woman, loving mother, and a loyal friend. There's really no one like her. My family, who loved Madeline, accurately described her as a flower, a beautiful song, and a hilarious comedy, all rolled into one genuine spirit. I read once that even after somebody dies, you can still keep learning about them. You know, their life, it can still keep unfolding itself to you, just as long as you pay attention to it. And I think it's also important to address and remember that no one is immune to self-loathing and despair. Though we can be cruel to each other, we're sometimes much crueler to ourselves. Maddie was so down on herself, she couldn't fathom that so many people loved her. And despite telling her 1,000 times, in 100 different ways. But most of us who suffer from depression realize that it is pure, dull agony, and it can cloud your judgment. So let's please remember to take care of ourselves, of those around us, to give and to live the way she did, fully and laughing. And lastly, her kids, Dakota and Hudson, were her everything, her lifeline, as she would tell me nearly every day. She wanted them to know that a mother's love is always with her children. I can only imagine that losing a mother is one of the deepest sorrows a heart can know, but her goodness, her caring, her wisdom live on like a legacy of love that will always be with them. And I will be there to tell them how much she loved her kids whenever they're ready and like to know, because she loved them so, so much. I am so beyond grateful to have found the most profound and special friendship bond with someone in this life. It is a rare and wonderful gift. Please keep loving her, learning from her and talking to her. Carry her in your hearts. Keep her alive. That's how we should remember her. She was the greatest person I've ever known. I'll cherish her always.
I'm Elena, Maddie's stepmom. I'm still trying to come to terms that Madeline is not here with us. It's hard to make sense of things. One of my first memories of Maddie is when she was about 9 and went for a hike on Bear Valley. And that was just after I just recently met the kids and really didn't know what to expect. And was worried because I didn't know how to connect, how to keep them entertained. And Evan said, "Well, don't you worry about that. Maddie will take care of that." and she sure did. As we were walking, she showered us with stories and jokes and goofiness that she was so good at. And as we kept going, she started telling us that actually there's been a lot of reports of mountain lions hiding in the bushes and attacking unsuspected travelers just along this particular trail. And she sure could see a lion behind every bush, and she kept talking about it, and as she kept talking and getting more excited about it, she became also convinced that this is all true and scared. And then she turned to us and said, "You know, I'm just too little to protect you from those vicious animals. And so we need to all get together and run to safety." And that was Maddie. And from that point, she became a part of my life. And that was a blessing, because it's impossible not to love Maddie. And it's also not very hard to win her heart, because it just open to anybody, and it has place in it for everyone. And well, when we got married in 2003, we became a family. We lived down in a small little tiny house all together, and it was a very busy life. It was filled with regular chores and work and school and extracurricular activities and all those things that come every day. Because of crazy traffic in the Bay Area, we spent a lot of time together, just going from one point to another, and many hours a day. And thanks for God, because she provided. Thanks for God for Maddie, because she provided that life entertainment on those trips daily. She just was so funny. She showered us with love and jokes and stories. The stories never ended, and songs. She had a beautiful, beautiful voice, and this voice I'll never forget. We moved to El Dorado Hills. Actually, in 2003, I think I messed up my timeline, but that was where Maddie spent her teenage years, and those years were really, really tough on Maddie. She struggled a lot, but she really pulled through, and she never, never, ever lost her spirit. And she became a wonderful. She grew up, and she grew up a beautiful person. I feel very, very proud of her. She's very compassionate, and people are very, very important to her all her life. You know, when she was a kid, well, always she struggled at school, but she had amazing memory for names and for birthdays and for every little detail of every person she ever met. She remembered everybody, and she knew everything about everybody. I could always count on her when I forgot somebody's name, because I could just ask Maddie, and she always knew. She always knew about everybody, and that's how she was. She loved people, and actually, sometimes it was a concern, because when she was a kid, she would literally walk up to some strangers on the street or in the store, and she would tell them, "Well, you have the most beautiful eyes I ever saw. Oh, I love your outfit. Oh, you're beautiful." And, you know, people normally don't expect strangers to give them such compliments, so they usually get spooked out. And, but that was Maddie. She really, truly saw beauty in everything and everyone, and she had to share it. And you know, my last memory of Maddie is just about 3 weeks ago, when she called, and we were going to spend Thanksgiving together, and she was telling me about her patients. She knew everything about their life. She became part of family of every person she cared for. And she was telling me how much she wanted to go back to school and to become a nurse. You know, that was Maddie. She always wanted to be strong, and she always wanted to care for people. You know, we were going through her art a few days ago, and I found a picture that she drew maybe when she was about 13 or 14. And it was a drawing of Sleeping Beauty. And it was a Sleeping Beauty lying, sleeping, with a giant sword in her hands. And under the picture, Maddie wrote, "This is a true Sleeping Beauty. She can stand for herself. She's the one who dares to join the fight against the evil. She's not. That's not the one that needs some brave prince to come and rescue her from her trance. If it's possible to wake up, she will find it in her heart to carry on." You know, it gives me comfort to think that Maddie is at peace now. And my prayers are for her kids now, because they meant just everything to her. And also for Corey and Liz to have the strength to carry on.
My name's Jake, and I just wanted to say that Madeline brought me so much love and care in this world, and she showed me what it truly was to unconditionally love someone, and she was one of the most selfless, caring human beings I've ever met. I'm extremely grateful to have had the time that I did with Madeline. And I will miss her sense of humor. And I will miss every time we'd go out to dinner, she'd say some horribly awkward joke to the waiter every time. And I remember when I introduced her to my best friend, before she said anything, she just, sorry, Evan and Daphne, she just ripped the biggest fart ever heard. And I just want to thank Megan for talking to me through this. And I want to thank Corey and Liz. I know her kids are in good hands. And I want Hudson and Dakota to know that your mom loves you. And you're always welcome at me and my family's house whenever you need it. Thank you.
You got it? Do you want to just lower it a little? Okay, it's okay. Come on. Do you want to take off your mask? You can take it off for a second.
I want to share my card that I made for her. I'm going to give to her. What I said is, Dear Maddie Mom, I love you. I hope you have a good time being a ghost. You are always like my aunt. You are funny and cute and nice. Like when you hug me. You are a good friend to everyone. And so hope you have a good time being a ghost. I know you're always with us. Watching us. Loving us.
Do you want to stay with me? Okay. You want to come on, hold my hand? Okay. Stay with me. Let me just find my page, okay? Okay. I'm Liz. I met Maddie when she was 17, and we were working at Taco Bell. Within a few days of working together, we became very close. There wasn't any of that awkwardness, small talk, because I never liked that. We talked about real and deep things. Just little did I know then that she would have such an extraordinary impact on my life. When we met, she had recently gone through a very traumatic experience. At the beginning of our friendship, we were both going through a lot of difficulties. and we both worried greatly about each other and got each other through some very difficult times. And that was the first 3 years of our friendship. Saw each other all the time, and just always remember driving back late at night, probably early in the morning from Folsom, just remembering all the moments we had together. And I loved being around her. And then 3 years before 3 years after she reconnected with Corey, from her childhood, and that's when her life really started to blossom. She became pregnant with Dakota, and her and Corey moved in together and later married. She had Dakota 3 months after I had my oldest, Zoe, and that's when our friendship went from scary times to becoming mothers together. And her daughters also becoming best friends. Even after Maddie and Corey moved to Oregon, and I felt a big piece of my heart leave. We still remained very close. I remember the night before we left, we had margaritas. We'd always talk about doing that when we were old with our daughters. But after she moved, we still talked all the time, daily, and visit each other, whenever we can. We go to Evan's house, and we go to Corey's mom's house. And, and then I'd come up to Oregon a few times, and she was the only friend I would ever actually make the effort and go out of state for. But as time went on, I started to notice a decline in her happiness. Life became very difficult for both of us again, and unfortunately our long-distance friendship started wavering. And we were both unsure of how to help each other. And then our friendship ended. And things got very complicated from there. And, everyone that knows what happens does. And after, between then and now, I became Dakota and Hudson's stepmother. And, we just tried our best to co-parent. And then after her moved to Pollock Pines and she was living with Jake, she seemed to be in a happier place. And I decided to reach out in hopes of being able to co-parent Dakota and Hudson in a more loving situation, to which she was happy to accept. Although we were both guarded, we still talked very frequently, keeping her more involved in the kids' lives and Hudson's therapies. I just wish I told you then how happy I was to talk to you again, to tell you how much I've missed you, and that every day I thought of you and wished for your happiness. Wish I'd have reached out to you after you stopped the communication a few months ago, because I didn't understand why. Nothing happened, we just stopped talking again. And I had no idea how much you were hurting. I try to accept that there's nothing I did or said could have changed what happened, but that regret will still be there. After we received some of your things from Jake and his family, there was an entry in your journal that said, "I wish I was stronger. Maddie, you were always stronger than you gave yourself credit for. Your daily struggles were so heavy, but you still persevered for as long as you could. And that for that, you were stronger than most people. It wasn't until after your passing that I understood all of it, everything. You are a wonderful, complex person that shined a light on so many people. People are always wanting the best for you, and I hope you see that now, how much you were loved by everyone. Through the good and the bad, you were so loved. And that love will be carried on through Dakota and Hudson. Every day I look at them, I will think of you. And I promise to take extra care to raise them with all the love, but your absence could never and will never be replaced. I was just so hopeful that we could all co-parent. I gave them so much love. I always hoped for the distance of our homes to be shortened so that we could all just be close as possible. Myself, as well as Dakota and Zoe, hoped that we could have become close again. There was always that hope in the back of my mind, and the reality of that never happening weighs very heavy. And I do know this, so our friendship lives on through Dakota and Zoe. They have an unshakable bond that I know can never be broken. Not like ours, fortunately. Too much damage had already been done. But I just want to say that I love you to death and beyond. And one day I'll be up there with you, and we can have our midnight margaritas together again, like we planned. We're all just sitting on a porch, and we're gonna watch our children and our grandchildren bloom. I'll wait for that. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Corey. I was Maddie's husband. I've run through the gamut of emotions since Maddie left us. I've been devastated and angry, and I've laughed remembering her. I've struggled all week to distill the core emotion I feel about her, but I finally arrived at grateful. Initially, when I was going through memories of her, I started from the most recent, and those memories weren't great, of course. We spent the last 4 years fighting and arguing and involved in petty issues, but I never wanted that to be the lasting memory I had of her. So I went back further, and that's where I found so much more. Our marriage wasn't perfect, of course, but we had some really wonderful moments. I have the privilege of being there for two of the best memories and the best moments of her life, when Dakota was born and when Hudson was born. When Dakota was born, I was terrified. I was this 23-year-old guy who had no idea how to really do anything. I was so scared when Dakota came out into the world. But I remember Madeline just took her and held her, and she talked to her the way she always would, like she had already known her for a whole lifetime. The way Madeline wanted to protect her and love her put me at ease. I felt ready to be a father after that. Before Hudson was born, she had wanted another girl because she wanted Dakota and the new baby to be like her and Melanie. And I remember thinking, you're crazy. Why would you want that? Every story you've told me about you two is terrifying. But when Hudson was born, the love she had for that boy was immeasurable. I don't think she even knew how much she could love a little boy. He was the icing on her cake. He completed her life in a way she couldn't even comprehend. I could go on forever about the kids and the love she has for them, but these are the things everyone could see. She had this intense love for her children, and she wanted them and everyone else to know that. But when I go back even further, I find other little intimate moments that give you the full picture of Madeline. I remember the day we got married. We got engaged and married 3 weeks later. But the actual ceremony was so lovely and simple and beautiful. And I know I'm sorry you guys weren't there because we decided to elope. But when I watched her walk down the path to the hillside where we said our vows, she looked so peaceful and happy and a little awkward, which is 100% Madeline. I'm so grateful I got to experience that moment with her, that I got to be the one she married in her short life. And when I go back even further to when we first met, it's like a lifetime ago. I was 16 and Maddie was 14. I went to their house to work on a Spanish project with Melanie because we were in the same Spanish class. But I couldn't help but be smitten with Madeline. I would sneak up and hang out in her room, and we would sing Les Mis songs together. And she made me laugh a lot. There was something about her that captured my heart that night. Sometime later, I was working backstage for the performance of Annie that she was in. She played the part of Star to Be, and I remember, even though I was responsible for scene changes and all this stuff, I would just wait on the side of the stage and watch her solo because I loved her voice. Her renditions of the songs that she would sing the whole 6 years we were together, they would always be in my head. Madeline has been around for half of my life, and I was around for more than half of hers. She was the one that got away until she wasn't. I was 21 and I was a bit aimless. Happened to see her on Facebook and reached out, and from there it all happened pretty fast. While we didn't take the most traditional or healthy route to our lives together, it was all real. When we had all of our families together for Dakota's baby shower, I remember feeling like I had it all, like I had won. We had this big party with everyone we loved, and we went back to our little apartment at the end of the day, and then Dakota joined us a few months later. And yes, a lot of our time together was really hard. We were very different people with different expectations of life. We didn't have many of those sweeping moments of love. But when I remember our good times, I'm always drawn to the mundane things we did together, like watching Whose Line Is It Anyway before Dakota was born, or Graham when we were up in Oregon, or making a little fancy dinner together and drinking wine, or even the rare moments where we'd play music and sing. And I always felt so cool when I got to be involved in one of her jokes. Those famous pictures of her in the banana suit, I got to take those. She never stopped making me laugh, even though she sometimes made me cringe too. But I always admired her courage to be herself. It was something I would never been able to do. And so many more of our moments were centered around the kids. But that's because it was the thing that connected us most, all the way to the end. I'm grateful for every picture and every video she took. I so often wish she'd be in the moment with me and put the camera down or the phone down, but it turns out she was capturing these moments, so we'd all have them forever. When her and I would look back on the videos, she'd get so embarrassed at how much she was talking and cooing through them. But now we all get to keep these pieces of her with us. I'm grateful for Madeline because when my life felt aimless, she gave me purpose, she gave me love, and she ended up giving me the greatest gifts in my life. Only 2 people in the world gave me children, Madeline and Liz, and Maddie introduced me to Liz. Every blessing I have in my life is tied to her somehow, and maybe that was why our paths crossed. I like to think that I helped bring her some of her best memories too, especially with Dakota and Hudson. I'm also grateful that I got to help her cultivate some of her immense gifts, especially with photography, because her photos are some of the greatest gifts she left to all of us. And I'm also grateful that I got to live a full life with her. We met, we fell in love, we had kids, we got married, and then we grew apart. The last few years were not great for us, and I regret that they didn't go differently. I'm mourn the missed opportunity for us to be wonderful co-parents, and I always hoped and dreamed for a day where we could show up for Dakota and Hudson like all of our family did for our baby shower. In one of our last conversations over text, she sent me this meme with a caption that said, "When you use some hand sanitizer and it smells like some straight bottom shelf vodka." The picture was of Joy, the character from the movie Inside Out, and she was holding an orb that said, "A core memory." She was referring to the night when I first met Liz. They had not talked in a while, and she was nervous to see her again, so she kept drinking this awful hand sanitizer vodka to try to calm her nerves. I like to think, like me, that she would have these little moments remembering the good times between all of us. I'm grateful because Madeline left us with the best parts of her. They inhabit Dakota, and they inhabit Hudson, and they inhabit me and all the memories and lessons I've learned from my time with her. They inhabit all of us in the moments of laughter she gave us, her singing, her poems, and her photos. And so I'm going to end with the poem she wrote. The sparrows were knock-kneed, born not of a colorful breed, and the fence which they landed was barbed and spined, holding close to one another, bleeding, wasting. The land was ash, the tiny bodies cold. The sun seemed planets afar, landlocked, never to make it home. They suffer in silence, still. But when the little black eyes gazed upward after hundreds of years, when their blood had washed away and their bodies eroded, it was in that same spot that they realized home was in each other. Ghosts sleep tonight on the rusted old fence. We are sparrows, dead and gone like our past. Unless, look up, dear friend, I am still here. Thank you.
Thank you all who spoke. That was wonderful. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes now just giving a little message, maybe hope and comfort. In my interview this week, I was informed by the family that Maddie never really had what you'd call a formal religious involvement, except for when she went to St. John's in those first early years. But we are never to judge the inner secrets of anyone's heart. Only two know what goes on and what it looked like. That would be Maddie and God. None of us have any idea what thoughts or feelings or emotions stirred her soul, or what secret communion she may have had with her Creator. So what I've gathered this week from my interview with the family, as she so often was, she had much time to herself, to think, to contemplate on things, and maybe even see clearly the beauty God set before her. That being said, I do know this. I know that our God is a loving God who is sovereign, who never makes a mistake. He always looks upon our heart, and He always does that which is right and best. So with confidence, we leave our sister Maddie in the hands of a merciful Heavenly Father, knowing that His way is the best way, and His thoughts are way above ours and beyond our finding out. There are no words that we can say now that will reach the ear of Maddie. There is no music, no matter how sweet, can touch her heart. The service today was designed not only to honor Maddie's life and memory, but also to speak to the hearts of those gathered here in this place out of love and respect for Maddie's family. I'd like to leave you with this, something that King Solomon penned in the Bible 3,000 years ago, and this kind of fits. Solomon said, "God has planted eternity in the hearts of His children. I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and to do good while they live and to find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. He does it, so we will revere Him." That was in Ecclesiastes in the 3rd chapter. If you want, you can look it up and read the whole thing. It's pretty good. I feel in my heart that these words speak of Maddie's life in her own quiet, personal, and private way that she lived her life. Because she saw the beauty God gives us in nature. We heard that in her story. Or even by walking along the coastline with her mom, Daphne, talking about all things life. She captured the beauty and emotion through her photos, through her art. She saw things others never even imagined. In conclusion, I would like to say that Maddie was very much loved by all who knew her. She will, I know, be remembered and greatly missed by all those who crossed her path. This does conclude our service. We were supposed to have a little reception, but I don't know how much time we have now. We were supposed to be down there by 3 o'clock. What time is it? Anybody know? 10 after 3. Well, what do you know? I'm going to assume everything's okay. I would like to thank the family, Evan and Daphne, for letting Millers take care of all the wonderful things that we could do for her, and the trust that you gave us for that. I want to thank you personally for allowing me to do the service for you. This has been a real eye-opening week for me. Like I said, this is one of the most touching ones I've done in a long time. So thank you for that. I want to say one thing before we go down. We're going to have I don't know, is this everybody can come, or is this private service? Or so anybody who wants to go, the lakeside is right down the street. You go right down the street here until it turns, you go across the street, and you go right into the cemetery. It's only about 3 minutes from here, 2 minutes even. And we're going to have just a little short service where we lay her down. But I want to say to you before we go, don't forget this family. Don't forget to call them. Don't forget to write. don't forget to text them and find out how they're doing. It's not too much. They're not going to say, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody. They need to talk to somebody. This is a grieving time. So whatever you can do to help them get through this, do it by writing them or texting them or just giving them a call, okay? So are we going to do a little something here first, or could we go down first and then come back?
That works, if that's okay. Yeah, well, time frames are what they are, but everyone's welcome to come back and share stories and share a glass of wine or whatever. I don't know what time we close.
Let me go find out how we can do this.
Okay.